Venezuela is openly defying President Donald Trump's blockade threat. President Nicolas Maduro has ordered the Venezuelan Navy to escort ships carrying petroleum products out of the country, a move that risks a direct confrontation with the United States on the high seas. The New York Times reported that several vessels sailed from Venezuela toward Asia under naval protection between Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. The ships were carrying oil-related products, including urea and petroleum coke, and none are currently on Washington's list of sanctioned tankers. But the message from Caracas is unmistakable. This follows a rapid escalation, triggered first by the Trump administration's seizure of a tanker last week, and then by the president's declaration of a partial blockade aimed at Venezuela's oil industry. U.S. officials now warn the risk of a violent clash has increased. For months, Maduro has largely avoided responding with force, even as the Trump administration intensified pressure, including maritime actions that legal experts have questioned. But that restraint is now being tested. Venezuela's oil exports are the backbone of its economy, and Trump's strategy is designed to choke off that lifeline by cutting tanker traffic and seizing shipments. Publicly, the administration frames the operation as a counter-narcotics effort. Privately, Venezuelan oil has become a central tool in Washington's campaign to weaken and ultimately oust Maduro. U.S. officials confirm they are aware of the Venezuelan naval escorts and are now weighing their response. Inside Washington, the blockade announcement reportedly caught senior Pentagon and Southern Command officials off guard. By Wednesday, they were scrambling to determine who would actually enforce it. There is still no clear answer. It remains uncertain whether the U.S. military would take the lead, or whether the Coast Guard and other law enforcement agencies would spearhead the operation, with the Defense Department in a supporting role. Trump has since narrowed his language, saying the goal is to stop only sanctioned tankers. But with Venezuelan warships now escorting oil vessels into open waters, what began as economic pressure is fast turning into a maritime standoff. And the next encounter at sea could determine whether this crisis remains diplomatic or turns into something far more dangerous.
What is the Kremlin's stance regarding the escalation surrounding Venezuela? Is Russia offering its support to Venezuela? Are the United States' actions truly justified? And is there a genuine risk that this situation might escalate into a military conflict?
We are seeing an escalation of tensions in the region. We consider this potentially very dangerous. Venezuela is our ally, our partner, and we maintain constant contacts, including, as you know, high-level contacts. President Putin recently had a telephone conversation with President Maduro. And of course, we are calling on all countries in the region to exercise maximum restraint so as to avoid any kind of unpredictable development of the situation.
The Chinese side firmly opposes all unilateral acts of bullying and supports all countries in defending their national sovereignty and dignity. Venezuela has the inherent right to pursue its own independent development and to foster mutually beneficial cooperation with all other nations. We firmly believe that the international community will understand and fully support Venezuela's legitimate position in safeguarding its sovereign rights and national interests. China supports Venezuela's request for an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council.
A new flashpoint is erupting in the global power struggle. Russia and China are reacting sharply to President Donald Trump's decision to impose a blockade on Venezuela's sanctioned oil trade. The Kremlin warned that tensions in Latin America are rising fast and could spiral out of control. Russia's foreign ministry said it hopes the Trump administration does not make a fatal mistake.
Just a blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through. You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back, but they took it. They illegally took it, getting land, oil rights, whatever we had. They took it away because we had a president that maybe wasn't watching. But they're not going to do that. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
The concern centers on Washington's move to block oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuelan waters, a step designed to tighten pressure on President Nicolas Maduro's government. The impact is already visible. Oil tankers loaded with millions of barrels are now stranded off Venezuela's coast, unwilling to risk seizure after the U.S. intercepted a sanctioned vessel last week. Russia claims the escalation is deliberate and dangerous. Calling Venezuela a close ally, Moscow says it is in constant contact with Caracas and strongly opposes what it describes as unilateral decisions that threaten international shipping. The Kremlin is now urging countries across Latin America to show restraint, warning of unpredictable consequences for the entire Western Hemisphere. President Vladimir Putin, officials confirm, has already spoken directly with President Maduro, and the message from Moscow is clear: back away before this turns into something far bigger. Meanwhile, China broke its silence, condemning what it calls unilateral bullying by the United States. Chinese officials said Venezuela has the right to develop partnerships free from outside pressure and accused Washington of undermining sovereignty and national dignity. China also said it supports Venezuela's call for an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council to address the blockade. But for now, Beijing has stopped short of pledging direct assistance. As U.S. pressure tightens, as oil tankers sit idle, and as rival powers close ranks around Caracas, a regional standoff is forming, and Washington's next move could decide whether this confrontation remains diplomatic or tips into something far more dangerous.
We are standing on our own land. We are acting within our legitimate rights, and we are defending the most sacred possession a nation can have, the fundamental right to a future for its young boys, for its young girls, for all its families, and for its entire population. War, we have unequivocally stated our refusal.
The overwhelming majority of the population is completely and utterly opposed to any form of military intervention. They're saying in the United States, interventionism must finally come to an end. Today I spoke with the UN Secretary General. I had a very long talk, and I fully explained to him the entire escalation of aggressions and threats that are taking place. And what has occurred yesterday and today when the United States government claims that it belongs to them and that we, the Venezuelan people, have stolen their oil. What that means is that Venezuela's oil belongs to them and that all of Venezuela's minerals, the gold and every other mineral, belong to them. And what we had never ever heard before, that the territories of Venezuela actually belong to them, and we are now forced to return them to them without any delay. It is quite simply, and without any doubt, a clear manifestation of a warmongering and colonialist agenda. And we have said this quite often, and now everyone can see the truth. The truth has finally been revealed. In Venezuela, a regime change is being sought to impose. A puppet government that wouldn't last even 47 hours, that would come to hand over our constitution, our sovereignty, and all our national wealth, and turn Venezuela into a mere colony. Simply put, that will never, ever happen. Never, never, never in the life. Venezuela will be a colony of nothing, of no one, ever. Today I can truly say that Venezuela has achieved the most powerful level of national unity that we have ever experienced in our history. And this national unity has only one objective: to ensure that international law is respected, to ensure that national sovereignty is respected by exercising it, and to ensure that the right to peace, to life, and to the future of Venezuela is respected, and that right to peace and to life will be respected.